Good morning. It's Andrew with the Market Mindset, and it's digging deeper today with Red Cloud. We have Silver Viper Minerals. We've got President, CEO, and Director of the company, Steve Cope. How are you doing today? Let's get right into it. What's happening? How are you?
I'm doing good. I mean, it's wet here in Vancouver, I guess, but we're surviving, and I'm not anywhere that's hit hard by the flooding. But it's interesting times in our sector, and I'm excited to be on the show.
Excellent. Well, I mean, we talk about silver a lot. It's great having a silver gold play in a good jurisdiction. You have got a resource. You've raised some money. There's lots happening in the last little while and a lot coming up. So let's just kind of recap a couple of the main themes that have happened in the last couple of months and where we are right now.
Yeah, to me, investors, really, there's three things you can get excited about for a junior that are really going to move the needle. One is obviously metals prices running. We're going to outperform the metal as we move up. I think right now is a great time for investors because we've seen a little pullback again in metals prices, but overall, I think we're, certainly in a position where things are going to be breaking out. But even more important on the fundamental side of the companies is we're drilling new targets, which have discovery potential on for the project. And that always moves the needle in the share price, good or bad market, when you hit something, new and exciting. And then, at the start of the new year, on the back end of some geophysics, we're going to be doing on the discovery that we already have. We're going to be testing that at depth, and what looks like similar deposits around the world that has potential to hit bonanza grade gold and base metals and silver. So there's a lot coming as far as catalysts for the company. We'll be expanding on the resource next year as well, and I think it's a good time to really look at Silver Viper.
Excellent. Yeah, so let's kind of unpack that a little bit, because it's great whenever you have, I think it was back in June when you released your for your 101 resource. Let's talk about that resource itself, because we kind of chatted beforehand. People see some of the historical data, they see this and they go, "Oh my God, is this these grades? Or we thought it'd be higher, it'd be this, it'd be that." Walk us through the conversation you have with people with the resource.
Yeah, because it is confusing a bit to people, especially people that are newer to the sector. But what you get, they see our drill results and they see this kind of kilogram plus silver number repeated over and over at El Ruby with high grade gold. Some absolutely out of this world results at times for certain samples. But what really made El Ruby special was the combination of that main El Ruby structure, which hosts that kilogram plus silver equivalent numbers. But then in the footwall, we have this 20 to 80 meter wide lower grade section, and then 100 meters to the west we've got this 100 meter wide low grade section, and that really started to show us the potential for open pit heap leach mining in the area. So that starting resource really was targeted around starting as an open pit heap leach operation and then going underground on the high grade after that. So we're going to be working towards developing an underground resource at El Ruby, which there hasn't been one yet, so we have made an underground resource. There's actually a slide in our presentation. You can see just a little bit of the block model left over. And I had the independent, I said, "Well, why is that not in there?" And he said, "Oh, it just didn't quite make sense." I was like, if someone was mining this, they would take a shovel and scoop it out. It's so close to the pit. But I said, but it's not enough tons for an underground. But what would it run? And he said, well, it ran about 15 grams gold and 300 silver. I was like, he would take a shovel. This isn't the resource. But that starts to show potential for underground. And that's where that grade that people are seeing in those high grade, it's there and it's included and it's an important part. But then you take our resource, and what got us, we're even more excited about the low grade broad resource, because you start to compare that to other, the mines in Sonora, and the average open pit heap leach operation runs at about a 0.5 gram gold average grade. And we're sitting at, a gram to 1.5 grams gold equivalent. And that's only using gold and silver. And I use silver in that because it's recoverable via, leaching, which is also something very important to look at. So we're really excited about that starting resource. It exceeded our expectations on size. It held together. We thought it was all going to be inferred, but it held together so well that the independent took a bunch of it and put it into indicated as well. So we are absolutely thrilled with where we're at as a start, but there's a lot more to find on this project, and that's what we're going to be doing here, moving forward.
And that's great, because whenever you see different types of projects, people are always initially attracted to like the blue sky, huge numbers, it's like, and we were talking as well, like if you're up in the Golden Triangle, you need to see these massive numbers, because the costs of operating for exploring and even if you get to mining, are pretty huge, and you're going to be underground. You're going to be spending a lot of cash. It's a lot different when you're down south. And like you're saying, all those factors you talked about with an open pit, it's so much cheaper. It's so much easier to run. And generally, when people are looking at comparables, when they're talking about different silver mines, they're talking like, I'm going to guess to 5, 10 more plus years ago, where the price was very different and the economics was very different. And we're certainly looking at a robust commodities future, rather than people thinking, "Ooh, I wonder if there's going to be a real hit in the commodity sector."
Yes. No, I mean, I before I worked with this group, I worked for a company that was a producing open pit heap leach mine in Sonora, Timmins Gold. They were at the time, and then they became Alio, and then they've been bought since then. And that again, that was a mine that was operating an average grade of, I think it was 0.5 something. We were mining on an average grade, but it's like you say, the capex is a lot smaller. All you're doing, I mean, you're buying the crushers, but it's a very simple process. You're in the right, environment, temperature-wise, to run a heap leach operation efficiently. You don't have the extra, you can do them up in the colder areas, but now you're having to like heat your leach pads and make sure certain things aren't happening, because the last thing you want is your solution to freeze. But we're in the right environment for that. You can compare us to all the other heap leach operations in the area, and a lot of them actually started with resources smaller than we're already at. So I think it's already an attractive, even if we never found anything else, which we already have from that resource. But even if we hadn't have found anything else, I think it's already shown that it should be an open pit heap leach operation in the state of Sonora, and it's at the size and the tons to already do that. So I just think we're thrilled. We are absolutely
it's great, and it opens up a part of Sonora, which is a historically rich mining area. It opens up an area as well that's previously been basically undiscovered, not a lot of data on, not a lot of work done. Well, lots of work, but it's opening up a sector where a lot more interest can come. And on top of that, so you've got this kind of foundation of a resource at open pit, but you have this, we'll say, blue sky potential as well. So often when we talk, people will say, "Oh, they've got a resource, the story's over." And it's like, no, slow down. It's not. We've just got a floor. We have a floor to work with now.
That's always an interesting one too, because as a company, there's always this constant pressure. When do you come? Like, you got to produce a resource. You got to produce a resource, and that typically comes more from the funds. The funds want to see it. It's easier to value, as a base case. But at the same time, we're certainly nowhere near what we think we have at this project. We, as a group, we only get involved with projects that we think have, that at least million ounce plus, but probably 2 million ounce plus gold potential, or 100 million ounce plus silver potential. And we certainly see that, and then some at El Rubi, especially just in the El Rubi area. Never mind the rest of the project, which has targets that aren't just a massive land package. But at El Rubi and the surrounding targets, of which, like you say, right now the rig is on the La Colmena target. No, sorry, it's on the Paradonas target. It will be going to La Colmena at the start of next year, which is the other untested target that we found in our geochem program. But we're on drill hole 3 of that. And I mean, obviously I don't know any grades or assays or anything like that yet, but visually, again, look, we're hitting a breccia structure, very similar looking to our El Rubi structure. We'll see what we have there, but again, this is a big potential for another parallel trend going through the project, 1.5 kilometers away from El Rubi. And it's just one. I mean, we move 1 kilometer north of that to the La Colmena target that we'll test in January. And again, like, there's potential for another El Rubi in that. And like you say, El Rubi itself is still open along strike and open at depth.
So it leads into a question that just came in here. It says, what's some of the milestones and targets that you're shooting for, and what should potential investors be looking at? And it kind of ties in with, I always ask, well, what's the urgency now?
Yeah.
And you kind of alluded to, you're going to be doing all this geophysics on that area. There's going to be lots of data from that. And then you're well-funded. So you did $6 million raise back in June, I think it was. Yeah. So you're fully funded. You're going to be doing that, and you're going to be expanding the resource. So maybe kind of just hit high level. If someone's looking today, they go, okay, why am I excited today? What's the urgency? What milestones should I put on the side of the screen to make sure that you guys are doing your part?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, hopefully a milestone is a new discovery. That would obviously be a major catalyst, and certainly why people should be looking at it now versus, I mean, I wouldn't want to wait till after a discovery is made, because the share price is going to be dramatically different. Secondly, like we said, the geophysics program is supposed to start in January now. And then we'll be adding the bigger rig to start targeting El Rubi at depth. And if we hit, obviously, I mean, even above and beyond a discovery, if that hits, on that model that Crescat Capital and Quentin Hennig, why they upped their investment in the company was because he related to other deposits around the world, and it's at this deeper contact that you hit those bonanza, gold and base metal and silver grades. And so, we hit that. That's obviously going to be a major game changer for the company. And then later into the next year, another catalyst will be updating that resource, having, starting an underground resource at El Ruby. If we hit and make a discovery, hopefully we can include one of those discoveries into a new resource as well. That would be the check marks as far as catalysts and why. And then I guess the other one that we talked about would be metals prices. And if you believe metals prices are going to be running at all, in the next even 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
I think you've seen a pullback now, but if you believe that we've pulled back to where we're going to pull back and then they're going to break back out, well, you should be investing your money, whether it's us or any other company that you're interested in now, because even with no news, so they're going to get a lift, especially ones that have a resource, because it's easy just to apply it to the resource and get a re-rating.
Yeah.
So again, I wouldn't wait for metals prices to run before you look to invest in any companies right now.
Yes. Maybe walk us through too, like with because it's a good thing. Crescat Capital is pretty well known. Dr. Quentin Hennig is very well known. So having him on board is never a bad thing. I'm sure they're probably waiting, anticipating, and hoping to get lots of news flow as well. What can you tell us about that? How has that relationship formed?
It's bigger. They took a small position on the financing previous to that, and Quentin wasn't involved in the process then. And then on this last placement, Quentin really did a deep dive on our database, and that's where he said this is like the Kellyan mine in Indonesia. This is like Dolores to your south. And what really happened on those mines was, as you had these epithermal systems, but they're not your traditional Mexican epithermal system. And when we see that, where you have high grade gold and silver at surface, and then 300 meters below you have high grade gold and silver, but you still don't see any of the base metals. And so but the first thing he says, this is a gold carbonate base metal system. We're saying, well, people say, well, there's no base metals. How can it be? There's no carbonates yet. But what happens is when you get down, where our resources is in the andesites, and below the andesite package, you have the rhyolites, which is a very hard, firm rock. And then below that, you should have the metasediments or limey sediments. And that's where this carbonate idea comes in. And so what you're going to have is the fluids come up and they're going to hit that firm rhyolite package above, and you're going to have this big blowout of mineralization at that contact. And so that is why we're doing that geophysics, to see where that contact is, and then we're going to test that at depth. But that's where Quentin really got excited about the project and said, yes, Crescat should be, taking a bigger position in the company. Let's get involved. And so we're waiting for that news flow to get going on that front. And then one of the benefits of Crescat is they do like to promote the companies that they're invested in. So as we start to get that news flow, we'll get the lift of, their videos and everything else that they like to do.
And we'll touch on this too, because it's hard to say with logistics and with COVID, the pandemic, and the new strain, and that how that might affect things moving forward. But as far as timeline, like right now, that's ongoing. So right now, like you're looking at the geophysics right away. Like you're not waiting until January.
No. Well, geophysical should start in January. We
should start in January.
Yeah. You mentioned that nasty word of COVID, and
I know
one of the things that we've seen is getting equipment. It's not us getting equipment, but third parties bringing equipment into Mexico. There's been delays getting paperwork done. So that program but we weren't going to wait. That program was supposed to start in August, and the company that we've contacted that is probably the top geophysics company in the industry and has brought equipment into Mexico lots of times. They've been very frustrated, but they said their equipment should be good to go now. They had one job in front of us in Mexico, and then they're going to start on ours in January is what we've been told. So we've, part of our exploration plan was design. Why we're testing those other targets right now was because we need the rig away from where that geophysics is going to be done, because that'll mess with all those, the magnetic signatures and everything that VIP is going to be doing. So we're going to, we're excited that we're hitting some interesting looking stuff at Paradones. So we're going to probably do more holes than we initially planned to drill there. And then in January, when that geophysics is happening, we'll be testing the La Colmena target to the north. So
this is great. Yeah, this is awesome. It is pretty exciting because you got lots of data, you got a resource, you got lots of blue sky, open pit potential with an underground. There's so much happening here, and there'll be tons of news flow. And that's where I think people, they want to know. And I hate bringing up that there could be slowdowns here and that, but we can't operate today without letting people know that there are things beyond our control that even when we know that. Yeah,
resource. It took us a year plus to get a LiDAR survey done. Again, a third party trying to get gear in. It's definitely affected certain things, but they're out of the company's control. There's nothing. I mean, it's nothing that we're even involved in the process. But we've continued to work, and we've worked throughout, other than the month pause when Mexico shut down, drilling. But we haven't had a case in camp, and we've, our whole team, other than our VP of exploration, is Mexican. So again, we have no problems getting in and getting work done. And, I'll credit to our team down there. They've done a fantastic job keeping the rig going and hitting some pretty good results, throughout this whole COVID pandemic.
Well, perfect. Well, I appreciate so much you having come on the show and talking to us. We're looking forward to all those results and all the milestones that you're going to be hitting. And we wish you all the best and look forward to catching up with you in the new year.
Thanks, Andrew. And hopefully we'll be talking about a new discovery when we do
Yes.
that.
Well, I hope so. Good luck. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Andrew. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Today's company presentations are brought to you by Red Cloud Financial Services and the team at Red Cloud Vancouver. Red Cloud Financial Services is your preeminent source for mining industry opportunities. The team provides a unique tailored marketing program dedicated to reaching the right people from its mining-focused global network, giving clients access to industry-leading events and conferences, retail and institutional marketing, plus an in-house growth-driven digital agency. Red Cloud Financial Services has access to some of the mining industry's most notable companies and CEOs. Tune in every Thursday at 4:15 p.m. Eastern, 1:15 p.m. Pacific for weekly corporate presentations. For more information, visit redcloudfs.com.
Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, heck, we're even on TikTok. We're excited to engage with you. We hope you'll join us moving forward.
Good morning. Welcome to the show. We've got Trillium Gold and Russell Starr. We haven't spoken to you for a few months. How are you doing, President and CEO of Trillium Gold? It's good to catch up with you again.
Yeah, very well, very well.
So listen, just so everyone knows, we're talking about historic Red Lake region of Canada, Abitibi, Greenstone. You guys are situated in an amazing spot, lots of infrastructure, but most importantly, just absolutely historical, well-known. And you've been hitting impressive numbers. You did a raise, well-funded, drilling a ton. I'll take it away. There's lots going on here.
Yeah, look, we're now the largest landholder in Red Lake, extremely dominant land position. Basically Barrick has come in all around us. The market just isn't paying attention to the gold space. It's very, very frustrating, despite literally gold names being at all-time lows versus almost every single indice out there. So we continue to hit really, really high grade gold at Newman Todd. We have this incredible exploration package. And a very, very, very modest market cap, which should be appealing to anyone. And, I often joke about this with people. I'm like, okay, so let me get this straight. You're okay paying limitless multiples for the likes of Facebook, Apple, and what is it? Something like 80% of the top market caps in the US have no cash flow. They actually don't generate any profits. Now, obviously we're junior gold and we don't necessarily do that either. But when you actually find and discover gold, that's a tangible asset and a real valuable commodity to any shareholder.
Well, that's the big distinction between people chasing after where a lot of the big money has to go. Like if you're BlackRock, you have to put hundreds of millions into a deal. You have to go to these massive cap, but that also forces a market up where the mining sector, although it shouldn't be as neglected as it is kind of neglected still and has so much room to grow. And people are actually not looking for value where they should be. And there's so much value. And certainly your project in particular, there's a ton of value and potential that is being missed in the market, to say the least.
Yeah. And then you also take another look at who the shareholders are. And when you've got management and insiders owning, 40, 50% of the company, that's a really good thing, especially when you look at a lot of the other juniors out there where management isn't aligned with the actual shareholder base. So look, I can't comment on the dynamics in the gold space other than, the majors are kicking butt, taking no names. They're generating tons of cash flow. They're going to have to do M&A, and literally investors are basically giving away the junior gold market, which is frustrating, but it is what it is.
Yeah, that's the frustrating part for someone who could see this, who knows it's a cyclical market, and is sitting on, especially on a great project where you're going, wait, why? How is no one seeing this? Like, you can look at past data, you can look at different markets and how it goes. Why? Like, and I mean, I ask myself that question. I talk to people all the time, and I go, listen, why would you want to sit in this thing? It's already hit its peak. Whenever you can be in something else that is well ahead of the curve. So we can't talk about that because it's very general, and I'd rather just focus more on all the news that you guys have had at Trillium Gold, so that people can kind of, really hone down on exactly what you're sitting on in Red Lake. Maybe tell us, like, you've and before we even get into the Wells property, because that's your latest kind of key driver.
The best slide to go to is like one more past the high quality leadership. Go to the slide number 5.
There we go. Almost there. One more down.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I mean, this is what tells everything about the company. You can see that Barrick's come in, that big, massive sort of purplish light blue. You can see that we really have accumulated just a major, and quite frankly, the best part of the belt. That literally, sorry, someone's messing around with this big time.
Can you go back to?
There we go. We're good. You can see that we sit on those structures. Look, I would be surprised. I mean, this is the same structure that the Dixie discovery sits on. They have about 7 kilometers of it. We have over 100 kilometers of it. It's just a benign neglect to what could be a multi bagger. And look, I've been doing this for a long time, and the best place to look for gold is where you found gold, and the best place to make discoveries is along trends that already have discoveries. We have 100 kilometers of strike of the same structure that a $1 billion company has that doesn't even have a 43-101 Great Bear. And that's not to say that they're not justified. They've hit high grade and tons of it. All I'm saying is the disconnect between people who are buying that versus what we have and what we could be bringing to the market is substantial.
Well, that's what I was so attracted to it, because you're talking about Dixie and Great Bear, and that's 7 kilometers, which is huge. But then you go, okay, great. I was in that fairly early, a bunch of people here, and that was wonderful. You go, you take a bit of money off the table, even if you're the biggest believer. You go, listen, that worked out well. Awesome story. Well, this one is comparable. I've never say it's the same, it's that, but it's comparable. But you're talking 100 kilometers to strike, which it's almost too big, where people get scared, like, oh, that's too big.
Well, my thought is that the junior market was broken even before this kind of weak market, and that has to do more with just too many small companies with really, really small property packages. We wanted to do it differently, and we did. And look at what we put together. And this is a land package and an asset package that a major or a mid-tier would be very, very happy to have under their belt.
And you've been amassing data. You've been getting results over the summer and in the fall here as well. So maybe walk us through some of that, because that all that matters. Especially when you do it with the thought or notion that it's a major going to be buying. There's a way they like to have their information presented. There's a way they like to be, if you're even thinking of handing a project over or selling or joint venture, maybe walk us through what that looks like.
Look, we have no interest in JVing. It's funny. There were some JVs that were announced in the area with Barrick recently, and the stocks were up like 100, 200%. People don't understand that when you actually JV, you give away the upside. It's great for the person that you're JVing it with, and in that particular instance, it was Barrick. But from the actual shareholder perspective, your upside is completely destroyed and eroded. So what we're doing is, we're cashed up at least until sort of Q1, Q2 next year. We'll continue to drill at Newman Todd. We believe Newman Todd is eerily similar to what you're seeing at Dixie. The only difference is they have 1,000 holes and we have 100 holes. So it's a meaningful difference. But after literally you get the chance to buy a potential Great Bear
Yes.
for 40 million versus a billion or whatever it's trading at now. And then you have all of these other assets on top of it that provide diversification, de-risking, and quite frankly, that Confederation Belt package, like I said, probably 1, 2, maybe 3, who knows, maybe even 4 Dixies sitting on that property package. There's gold everywhere on it. People just aren't paying attention.
And that's, and it's hard. It was frustrating. It's a level of frustration for everyone in the space, because the enormity of it is amazing. But we need to attract more people and eyes onto these stories, and especially your own, because I mean, as soon as I remember interviewing you months ago, I was talking to you, and I liked the project because it was similar to Great Bear, and then I was like literally got off the interview with you, and I bought a whack of it. So I was just like, that's it. I'm good. Like,
well,
and I'm not endorsing, I'm not saying it, but, and we don't have any partnership or anything, but I'm just saying that I was like, listen, I get it, because I did so much work for Great Bear and I looked at theirs for so long. And then just even walking through with what you had, I was like, listen, if I'm going to take a shot at something again, I understand this area, what you're talking about and what the goal is here. And that management is totally in line, which is a big, that's a big factor. Like when you're saying with the JV thing.
Yep. So no, it's look, exciting times ahead. Inflation clearly rampant in the U.S. Everywhere. Quite frankly, we were just looking at $1.80 gas prices. I've never seen that unless you're filling up a boat or something with totally different type of fuel, or a jet fuel or whatever. But no, I mean, all of the major symptoms are here for a massive rally in the gold market. And look, I get it. Maybe some people are happy to give up the first 30% to make the next 100, but the reality is that there are millionaires are going to be made on this next gold rally, and smart, sophisticated investors will start dipping their toes in now. It's taken longer for it to occur, but you only have to look back at summer 2020 when gold went through 2000, our market cap, our share price was $2.70. That frenzy will come back into the market when the gold price starts to rally, and you're gonna be paying many multiples of where we're sitting at for this company.
Yeah, no, and I mean, people will say, well,
I'm going to drink my soda stream. It's not all that professional, but I'm doing it.
And crypto does give a bit of a challenge, and that space exceptionally well. And we're both open to it, like it, but that shouldn't dissuade anyone from looking at gold, because whether or not you believe or not, and you think whatever on either one, central banks believe in gold. They believe in commodities. So really, if the main key players are believers, that should be a factor in your decision-making process. If you're an investor, that should tell people a lot.
Yep. No, I agree. And it's, look, I do this a lot. I make this pitch a lot. By the time people realize how bad inflation is, and when they start understanding the real data, and I do, like, I have a master's in economics. I started my PhD. If you look at the way they used to calculate inflation in the U.S., you'd be looking at 20%. And you'd be looking, and people just aren't paying attention. Like, they don't understand that their fiat is being destroyed. Canada, same thing. I mean, just look at housing prices, oil and gas. Everything is ripping, and the only way to protect yourself in that circumstance is with hard assets. I think crypto is being viewed now as a bit of an inflation hedge, which is intriguing. It's in my opinion, a little bit different than what gold offers, but regardless, anyone who is not long hard assets and some of the precious out there is going to be very, very upset, and probably in the next 5 years, because look, it may be 7, it might be 2. Something bad is about to happen, because you can't have money printing the way that it's occurred without rampant inflation. And the definition of inflation, really, truly, from a pure economics perspective, is the printing of M1. And guess what we're doing? So,
and that speed is massive, and it's more coming. And they've said they're not going to stop. So to me, is that once there's crypto there, but you need to have, then you go, okay, commodities. You got me. I believe commodities. I believe in gold. Is then you have to narrow it down to, you want the multiple. If you want the biggest bang for your buck, then you need to find projects. And once again, it's coming back to you're in a right jurisdiction, infrastructure, you're in a historic region. Like it's just check.
Yep.
And you're invested in the company. So we're kind of getting close to the end here, but maybe you kind of wrap that up in one little basket for us.
Look, the basket is threefold. One, is management aligned? Absolutely. Number two, what's the technical team like? We have, a technical team that I put up against anyone, 150 years of experience in Red Lake. And number three, there are companies in Red Lake that have the same market cap as us that aren't even drilling. Like, I don't even understand what people are looking at. And so you are offered a major, call it discount right now. It is also tax loss selling time, but the reality is that the sum of the parts aren't being shown in our share price right now. And for smart, savvy, sophisticated investors, great time to dip your toe in.
Perfect. And just before we go, we're coming into the holidays and Christmas, so it's a bit tough, but what are some early milestones? If someone goes, what's the urgency right now? What should I be looking forward in the next couple months?
Tons of news.
Tons of news coming.
Drilling, drill data, information on the Confederation Belt, a realignment. Basically, Confederation Belt was looked at as a base metals belt. Now it's once again being viewed as gold. We're going to be waking everyone's attention up to that again. So just continuous streams of information in the form of news.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much, Russell. Really appreciate you giving us the update. Awesome. Thanks so much.
You bet. Have a good one.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.